Much to Herbert Diess's surprise, Bloomberg claim that Volkswagen will overtake Tesla in electric vehicle sales in only 2 years' time in 2024. Is that possible? Is that realistic? Well, let's have a quick look. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you, and this is probably a good video for those of you who are invested in Tesla or considering investing in Tesla. Realistically, if Bloomberg is right, you probably shouldn't be investing in the company because Bloomberg is predicting that Tesla will grow their sales at an abysmally slow rate, and their sales growth will slow down enormously starting next year. Is that true? Well, I don't think it is. However, according to Bloomberg's comprehensive report published this morning by research firm Bloomberg Intelligence, Tesla will hold its global crown for EV sales for only another 18 months, but it will be usurped after that period of time by Volkswagen's electric vehicle sales. Now, the irony of this all is that Herbert Diess himself doesn't believe Volkswagen can catch Tesla until their new factory comes online in 2026. So clearly Bloomberg has a lot more faith in Volkswagen than Herbert Diess, CEO of Volkswagen, actually has himself. Kind of hard to get these two things to align in my view, but anyhow. Now, Bloomberg's full electric vehicle outlook predicts that many legacy automakers will struggle enormously in sales until 2025 and potentially even beyond. However, they believe Volkswagen is the only company that won't do that, and they will overtake Tesla in only 18 months' time. The truth is, Volkswagen did make huge efforts to increase their electric vehicle sales last year, but for some reason, everyone in the financial media, including all the electric vehicle websites, seem to be ignoring the fact that Volkswagen's electric vehicle pace hasn't grown at all this year. In fact, it appears to be slowing down, if anything. So I'm not really sure where Bloomberg are getting their numbers from, because deliveries the first quarter of this year, right? Volkswagen's electric vehicle deliveries were lower than they were in the third and fourth quarters of last year. Doesn't really sound like a spectacular growth story to me. Yes, it is true that Volkswagen did just open 2 new factories to build electric cars at, but those factories are certainly not on anywhere near the scale of Tesla's Gigafactory in Berlin or Tesla's factory in Texas. Now, in light of Tesla's growing efforts and the fact that they are ramping their production in Shanghai, building a new Gigafactory at Shanghai, ramping production in Texas and in California and in Germany, Bloomberg still predicts that the American automakers' days as the top dog in electric vehicle sales are going to come to an end very, very soon. Now, as you can see from this chart published by Bloomberg, these guys really believe Volkswagen sales are going to increase exponentially. There's a huge amount of work for Volkswagen to do to get to these numbers, but realistically, this report from Bloomberg, it doesn't actually show us any data on how they're going to achieve this. Bloomberg doesn't have this information, or at least they're not willing to share it publicly, because as far as I can see from this report, there's no numbers. There's no like, okay, Volkswagen will build this many EVs at this plant, therefore their production will be X. This many at this plant, therefore production X. There's none of this. It just seems as though they've just put these numbers on a pie chart and said, hey, have a look at this. Doesn't this look good? We're telling you this is going to happen, but there's no actual substance behind these numbers. So what does Bloomberg say will happen in 2025? Well, Bloomberg Intelligence says that in 2025, Volkswagen will be number 1, Tesla number 2, and BYD number 3. Interestingly, the report also says that most legacy automakers will be unable to divest their electric vehicle related assets from their combustion vehicle production, since those gasoline vehicles are helping fund the transition to electric vehicle models. Volkswagen, however, is the exception somehow. I'm not sure why. They don't say why. But they say it's thanks in part to an IPO for its Porsche Marquis expected in the fourth quarter of this year. So Bloomberg expects that Volkswagen's percentage of electric vehicle sales will grow from 5% last year to 30% in 2023. So they're going to have to go from, probably this year they might achieve 6 or 7%. So 6 or 7% this year to 30% next year, and then 45% the following year. That seems to me to be an extremely optimistic prediction. However, they believe that they'll be able to achieve this by raking in more cash from different avenues in order to fund their electric vehicle development and growth. This is what they said. Looking ahead, automakers in Europe, China, and elsewhere will continue to challenge Tesla via an impending wave of new models, though profit incentives are limited amid rising battery costs and a lack of scale. That may change in 2025 and 2026 as more brands achieve critical mass on new generation models with proprietary software. There are a number of challenging external factors to consider, and bold electric vehicle ambitions have done little to prevent crisis-level valuation multiples, stoked by recession fears, rising interest rates, supply chain constraints, and inflation. Now, the report actually contradicts itself pretty badly, right? It claims that batteries are and will remain a critical factor in every automaker's ability to stay competitive in the EV sales market. They say Volkswagen has already committed tens of billions of dollars toward battery development and its necessary supply chain, including plans for 6 40 gigawatt-hour battery factories in the EU by 2030. In addition, Volkswagen has 3 separate strategic partnerships in place to further its battery development. Now, these are all good things, but they are all really theoretical right now. The reality is right now, battery production is much more in the favor of 2 different car companies, and that is Tesla and BYD. Clearly right now, BYD are in a much more powerful position than Volkswagen when it comes to battery production. They're producing, 20 times more batteries than Volkswagen, because Volkswagen doesn't really produce any batteries. And I'm only saying 20 times more because Volkswagen does own around 20% of Gotion High-Tech. Give them 20% of Gotion High-Tech's output, and really, to be honest, it's actually more like 50 times that BYD are producing compared to Volkswagen. And the reality is, I don't think that Bloomberg Intelligence has actually looked at the reality of what BYD plans to do over the next few years. If you look at what BYD's plans are, there is no possible way, in my view, you would claim that Volkswagen will be able to beat BYD, let alone Tesla. Realistically, if any car company will challenge Tesla within the next few years for supremacy globally for electric vehicle sales, it is not Volkswagen, it's BYD. Now, interestingly, Bloomberg believes that a number of different legacy automakers will hit around 1 million sales of electric vehicles per year in 2025, which would be, I think, not too bad a result, but it will mean, right? It will mean a lot of their lunch is going to be eaten by their competition, which will be Chinese car companies. Who else have we got? Well, remember, automakers like NIO and XPeng are planning on very aggressive entries into the world electric car market. The world car market, in particular, starting with where? Europe. But remember, Volkswagen's presence in China is very rocky and tenuous. They've always been the leaders in China, and I don't think Bloomberg Intelligence is actually paying attention to what right now is happening in the world's biggest car market, and that is Volkswagen is losing market share, not gaining it. Somehow, clearly, Bloomberg believes that that trend will be reversed. It has to be reversed within at least no more than a couple of months. If it's not reversed within a couple of months, then I don't see how it's actually even remotely possible for Volkswagen to hit the numbers that Bloomberg says that they will. Now, these predictions by Bloomberg Intelligence are just that, theoretical predictions. To be honest, I don't see any basis in mathematics from any of them. However, the good point here, the thing we should all consider, look at this from the positive side. Bloomberg, yeah, they're lying out their asses. Sorry, they are. They are. But the truth is, clearly, Volkswagen are, like other car companies in legacy auto, now changing their minds and trying as hard as they can to make a big effort to push into manufacturing more EVs. Stealing Tesla's crown of EV sales, not going to happen by 2023, 2024, or even 2025. And I highly doubt it'll happen at any time before 2030. However, if they aspire to catch Tesla, that in and of itself will drive them to deliver and sell more EVs. Now remember, last year, Tesla sold, well, they didn't sell actually, they sold a lot more. They actually delivered 936,000 electric cars. Volkswagen, 492,000, about half that number. Since then, Tesla has opened 2 new factories. And despite Shanghai COVID, they'll hit 1.5 million deliveries this year. Nobody currently is predicting that Volkswagen will be able to double their numbers this year to 1 million. Why? Because look at their sales over the first quarter of this year, right? They only delivered 100,000 EVs in the first quarter of this year. In other words, they're actually on track to deliver less EVs this year than they did last year. Will that happen? Probably not. I'd say they probably hit around 600,000 this year. Well, that's going to be well under half what Tesla will deliver by the end of this year. The other problem with all these numbers from Bloomberg is that they have conveniently conflated plug-in hybrids with fully electric cars. Those numbers for Volkswagen, they include plug-in hybrids. But let's be frank, electric cars are not plug-in hybrids. You need to cut those vehicle sales deliveries numbers in half to get Volkswagen's true numbers for last year. The other thing worth remembering is Volkswagen CEO Herbert Diess himself said Volkswagen cannot catch Tesla until their Wolfsburg plant is retrofit to produce EVs, which won't happen until 2026. So the fact that Bloomberg Intelligence disagrees with the CEO of Volkswagen himself seems to be pretty damn bizarre. Now, like I said, it is possible that a car company could catch Tesla in 2025, not in 2024, but in 2025. That company, though, is not Volkswagen. It's BYD. But let me know in the comment section below what you think. Do you think Volkswagen can catch up and beat Tesla at electric car sales in 2024? Or is this just a whole load of hogwash? Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.